You know, they say retirement's supposed to be the easy part, where you finally kick back, sip coffee on the porch, maybe figure out how to grow tomatoes that don't taste like regret. After 30 years in the Marines, dodging bullets, barking orders, and living out of a duffel bag in places most folks only see on the news, I was ready for that quiet life, ready to let the world spin without me. So when I bought this little two-story house in Pine Crest Heights, perched on a hill with a view of the whole damn valley, I thought, this is it, Tom. You've earned this. The place wasn't much, just cedar siding, a creaky deck, and a steep backyard slope covered in wild grass and stubborn junipers, dropping off to a dusty access road below. I liked this solitude, the way the hill felt like a buffer between me and the rest of the world. The seller was practically begging me to take it off his hands, price slashed like he was running from something. Should have seen that red flag, but I was too tired to care. What I didn't know then was that my slope wasn't just dirt, it was holding up more than I'd bargained for, including a high-voltage utility pole that powered half the neighborhood. And then there was Linda Harper, the HOA queen who'd turned my quiet retirement into a war zone. Pine Crest Heights Community Association, fancy name for a group obsessed with matching mailboxes and yelling about unmowed lawns, despite being an hour's drive from anything resembling a city. I paid my dues, kept my trash cans hidden, and ignored their newsletters about approved holiday wreaths. I didn't want trouble, just peace. But Linda? She was trouble wrapped in a cardigan, all fake smiles, and a clipboard she wielded like a gavel. She'd swept into the presidency after some drama, involving a neighbor's tacky garden gnomes didn't ask, and ran the place like she was auditioning for dictator. Pastel blouses, pearl earrings, and a voice that could cut glass. She'd march through the neighborhood, pointing out violations like she was God's gift to property values. First time we met, she was at my gate, sunglasses perched like a crown, jabbing her pen at my unweeded flower bed. "This doesn't meet Pine Crest's aesthetic standards, Mr. Callahan," she said, not even looking at me. Then she nodded at my faded Marine Corps flag by the mailbox. "And that's not regulation decor." I chuckled, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. A week later, a fine showed up in my mailbox, $75 for non-compliant landscaping. That's when I knew Linda wasn't just annoying. She was a problem. She had big plans, though her Vision 2023 beautification project, complete with new walking trails, fancy planters, and a community gazebo nobody asked for. The HOA board, a bunch of her hand-picked yes-men, rubber-stamped it all. I stayed out of it. I'd seen enough power-hungry types in the service to know you don't poke a bear unless you're ready for claws. But then, one April morning, I'm sipping coffee on my deck, listening to the sparrows, when I hear this go-doffel beeping like a truck backing up, but meaner. I lean over the railing and see it, a yellow backhoe clawing into my hillside, right at the base of my property line. Workers in neon vests are spraying paint, pounding stakes, and setting up a porta-potty like they're moving in. No notice, no nothing. I march down, boots crunching on gravel, and flag down a kid with a hard hat. "What the hell's this?" I ask. He shrugs, barely looking up. "HOA's orders. Drainage trench. Slopes eroding," they said. I squint at him. "This is my land." He hesitates, mutters something about shared runoff, and goes back to unloading gear. Shared runoff, my ass. I had the deed, the survey, every inch of that hill mapped out from when I bought the place. I'd spent 2 years fixing drainage pipes after storms, reinforcing the retaining wall myself. This wasn't their land, it was mine. I tried calling the HOA. Voicemail. Emailed them. Auto-reply. So I grabbed my property docs and drove to their little office at the community center. Locked, of course. Linda was nowhere to be found. That night, I called my old buddy Mike, a lawyer who'd switched from military tribunals to property disputes. "Tom," he said, "this ain't just a mix-up. They're trespassing, maybe worse. Document everything. So I did. Next day, I'm out there with my phone, filming the backhoe tearing up my dirt, the tire tracks crossing my property line, the workers who wouldn't meet my eyes. And then I saw a utility pole, this big metal beast carrying 200,000 volts, sitting right where they were digging. Its base was sunk into my slope, and every scoop they took was loosening its grip on the earth. I'm no engineer, but I'd seen enough unstable structures in war zones to know this was bad. That pole wasn't just a light post. It was a lifeline for 40 homes, and they were messing with its foundation. I went to bed that night uneasy, the kind of uneasy that keeps you staring at the ceiling, listening to the wind. Next morning, it got worse. The backhoe was back, now 10 feet deeper into my lot, clawing right up to my retaining wall. I stormed down, yelling at the operator to stop. "You're trespassing," I shouted over the engine. He just stared, blank as a wall, and kept digging. That's when I started filming again every scoop, every torn root, every inch of my land they were stealing. At the HOA meeting that night, I walked in with my folder of evidence, still in my work boots and old field jacket. The room was packed neighbors sipping lemonade, whispering about the latest gossip. Linda sat at the front, cool as ever, like she was running a charity auction. "Mr. Callahan," she said, voice dripping with fake warmth, "so nice to see you." I didn't smile. "I'm here about your illegal digging on my property." The room went quiet. She waved a hand, all calm. "The drainage project was board approved, part of our shared runoff plan. You got the notice." "No, I didn't," I shot back. "And you don't have the right to touch my land. How about the survey to prove it?" She smirked, tapping her pen. "We had our own survey done." I held up a photo of the backhoe, tire tracks, clearly over my property line. "Your survey's wrong, Linda. This is my land, and you're digging into a high-voltage pole's foundation. That's not just stupid, it's dangerous." Someone gasped. Linda's smile tightened, but she brushed it off. "This isn't a courtroom, Mr. Callahan." I left the meeting, but not before dropping my photos on her table. Point made. Next day, after a drizzle, I noticed the slope sagging near the pole's base. The ground was soft, like it was giving up. That pole, old, rusted, carrying enough juice to fry a block, was leaning, maybe 10 degrees off. I called the county utilities office. They said they'd send someone in a week. A week? I didn't have a day. That night, the power flickered, then died. I grabbed my flashlight, stepped outside, and saw it. The pole, tilting further, wires sagging like they were begging to snap. The earth hissed, shifting under my feet. I wasn't waiting for a disaster. I called 911. "This ain't a crime or a heart attack," I said, "but you've got a high-voltage pole about to crash into a neighborhood. Get here now." 20 minutes later, 2 cop cars rolled up, followed by fire trucks and utility crews. By afternoon, the street was chaos yellow tape, drones buzzing, neighbors gawking. Linda showed up in her pristine SUV, lipstick perfect, like she was late for a garden party. She marched up to the site supervisor, waving her clipboard, yelling about approved projects and erosion control. He cut her off, voice like steel. "Did you notify us before digging near this pole?" She stammered. "I thought it was outside the radius." "You thought wrong," he said. "You're lucky nobody's dead." That shut her up. Neighbors were staring now, not at her. The utility crew worked through the night, propping the pole with steel cables, rerouting power while half the neighborhood went dark. Then came the HOA's next move, a letter hand-delivered accusing me of obstructing community operations and threatening fines, maybe a lawsuit. I laughed, pinned it to my corkboard with a note. "Keep this." The county's report came a week later, clear as day. Unauthorized excavation, destabilized utility pole. Responsible, Pine Crest Heights Community Association. I taped a copy to Linda's door. Then the storm hit, not a big one, just a steady spring rain, but enough to soak the open trench they'd left. I heard it that night, a low groan, metal creaking. I grabbed my flashlight and saw the pole tilting again, wires humming like a warning. I ran to my neighbor's house, Jim, a retired cop banging on his door. "Get your family out back now." He didn't argue, just grabbed his kid and dog. I shouted to the next house over, "Stay inside, power lines." Then it happened, a sickening snap, a crash like the world breaking. The pole twisted, collapsed into the access road, sparks flying, a transformer blowing blue across the sky. Everything went dark. Fire trucks screamed in, cops blocked the road, and Linda, she was there, still clutching her clipboard, yelling at a utility worker who ignored her. I stood in the rain, soaked, watching her empire crumble. An engineer walked up, shaking my hand. "Your report saved lives, Mr. Callahan. This could have been a lot worse." I nodded, said nothing. I didn't need to. The HOA called an emergency meeting the next day. The room was tense, neighbors packed in, coffee burnt, air heavy. Linda stood up, all poise, spinning her tail. A severe weather event caused the collapse. We acted in good faith. I stood, calm, and placed 3 things on her table. My notarized property survey, her forged map stealing 30 feet of my land, and the county's report blaming her. "I warned you," I said, locking eyes. "You dug into my hill, redrew my property line, and nearly killed someone." The room erupted, neighbors shouting, demanding answers. Linda stammered, "We had a consultant." I cut in. "Summit Land Solutions? They lost their license years ago." Gasps. 3 board members quit on the spot. Linda stormed out, her loyalists trailing like scared dogs. Then I played my final card, a 1983 covenant, buried in my safe, stating no one could touch my slope without my sign-off, the cities and the utility companies. The HOA never owned it, not a square inch. Linda's entire project was a lie, built on forged documents and arrogance. I handed it to the city attorney, who smiled and said, "You're bulletproof." The council hearing was brutal, residents unloading years of grievances, fines for birdhouses, threats over paint swatches. Linda sat, jaw tight, as the council suspended her board and banned her from HOA duties. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The truth spoke louder. Weeks later, Pine Crest felt alive again. Neighbors waved, potted plants reappeared, flags flew free. Linda's house went quiet, curtains drawn, her yappy dog silent. The new board, led by Jim, scrapped her rules, added oversight, and canceled every fine. I joined a county task force to reform HOAs, not just here but statewide, to stop people like Linda from weaponizing power. The slope healed new grass, wildflowers, proper drainage. One evening, I sat on a bench where the pole once stood, watching the sunset. A kid and his dad stopped by. "Is this where it happened?" the boy asked. His dad nodded, then looked at me. "Thanks." I waved, said nothing. That night, I pulled out a photo of my wife, gone 5 years, smiling in front of this house. I wasn't just defending dirt, I was defending home, dignity, the right to stand your ground. But here's the thing. Linda's still out there, probably plotting her comeback, and there's 1,000 more like her HOA tyrants, petty kings with clipboards. So what do you think? Was I right to fight, or should I have let it slide? Ever dealt with someone like Linda in your neighborhood? Drop a comment, share your story. I am reading. And if this hit home, give it a share. Let's remind folks what happens when you stand up.